Hi, my name is Jamie Francis. Just starting a beginner series here in Vegas. I'm using Vegas 11. This one is going to be how to change, basically how to make slow-mo with some footage you have. Slow-mo or speed up footage, just the basics of that. So right here, I've just loaded the program. I'm going to import a file. Right here is my Explorer, some GoPro footage I have. But to import footage to, you can either in Explorer, you can find your footage here. My computer is there. Just find your footage. I've got a clip here that I've marked that's an okay shot. I haven't really looked at it, so I don't really know what it is. I think it's up at the lake with my dog. So I'll just click and drag that in. But there's also another way to import footage, is if you import media, you can find it in here. But here I'll just find it in my Explorer and I'll drag it in. So there's your clip. So right now, this what's important is your project is set to what you want it to finish as. Right now mine is 1920 by 1080, so an HD project at 24 frames a second or 23.976. I'm going to keep it there because then you get some really cool slow-mo. With this clip here, my GoPro clip, if you, once I drag it in here, drag it into the timeline, I can right click. So you right click and you go to properties, and right down here under sample rate, which you can change, but beside it, it will have your frame rate of the actual shot. And this is very important. When I shot this clip, it was at 59.94 frames per second or 60 frames a second. That is very important. For a final project at 24 frames a second, I can really slow this footage down. I can actually slow it down to 40%. And it'll still be super smooth. So let's just do that. Let's try that. So I right click, and there's a couple ways you can actually do this. You can go back to the properties, and right above where it says the frame rate, you have playback rate. And right now it's playing at 60 frames a second, so it'll just be like real speed. But what I can do is you erase it, or just take out the 1. So basically it's playing at 100% speed right now at the 1.00. But what I've worked this out before. So 60 frames a second converted to 24 frames a second and make it super smooth still is 40. So you want to put 0.4. And so now it'll play back the 60 frames a second clip at 24 frames a second. I like disabling the resample as well. It's optional, but I've had it not work as well. I don't know exactly why. I'm not that smart. But I'll click OK, and now you'll see that the clip actually didn't move. I'll undo that. The clip is still just 33 seconds long when I click the speed. But you'll see now that there's these little jagged lines, kind of like a mountain. That means it's had some kind of speed change in the editing. And if you play back this, it's going to play very smooth. Well, smooth if you had a smooth shot, but smooth in its frame rate. But because it's the exact same length, it actually has a good percentage of the clip not even in the shot yet. So what I do is I just click at the end and just keep dragging. It's probably this long of a clip. And what Vegas likes to do is loop everything. So if you right click and go to switches, you click off loop. And so it'll just have that last frame. And I'll just keep playing that last frame. So this should be a pretty neat shot, just as is. So let's just play it sort of from here. If you can blow this up a little bit, stretch this down, show you guys a little bit better. As you can see, it's pretty smooth, other than disregard the shaky camera, but even that is kind of taken out because you're slowing down your camera move as well. There's also another way you can do it, and what we're going to do is enhance this. You'll see in a lot of movies, especially the action movies or something, you'll have a kind of a ramped up speed. It'll be like super smooth, super slow, and then speed up really quickly and then slow down again. I think I call it ramping. I don't know if that's the actual technical term, but I'll show you how to do that. So we have the clip now at 40% the speed of the original clip. So we're gonna use that as 100% of the speed that you want. So if you right click and you you go to insert, remove envelope, go to velocity, click on that. Now you'll get this bar, and this bar represents 100%. See, if you drag it over, don't click anything, but just look at the velocity. It'll say velocity at 000 is 100%, and at the end it should be the same. 100% of your clip will just be the slow-mo like that. But what you can do is, because this stuff's all kind of garbage, you can just, this early stuff in my clip, you can just cut it. So what I'll do is I'm just going to drag it until it actually gets to something that's interesting. And keep dragging it, or you can just cut by going over it and pressing S to where you want to make your cut. I'm going to make my cut like quite a bit over here actually. So I'm going to click right there and press S. That's S on your keyboard, or you can just drag it to that point. And I'm just going to drag it back to 0, and there's your start. And what I'm going to do the same thing at the end, because it's just my wife there. She doesn't like being on camera. Don't tell her that she's on it. So I'm going to go to about there. I have my camera on a big pole here. That's why the camera flips around at the end. So I'm going to make an S cut here, or I'm just going to drag it from the back to there. Perfect. So we just made an edit there too. Little bonus tip for you. So we have this clip now. It's going to play this for you just as is. It's 100%. It's all super slow. Kind of a neat shot. Nothing fancy, but it's good for tutorial purposes. There. So, but what we're going to start out, what we're going to do is have my dog in kind of back to real speed. So she's going to be running up here, and then it's going to slow down a bit. We'll just do a real basic. So what I'm going to do is, instead of having it 100% at this first point, I'm going to push this way up, and the maximum is 300%. So now it's going to be 3 times the speed of your slow mode footage. But the problem is now the whole clip is now 300 because this line is just all along the clip. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a point. I'm going to right click on the velocity line here and add point. And now a point is shown up here. So I'm going to bring this down. And as you can see the percentages go lower and lower, and I'm going to go back down to 100 and maybe drag it a bit more over here. And so now you have a clip that starts at 300 and at about the 5-second mark goes back to 100, back to the slow-mo. So we just see how that looks just as is. Press play. It looks okay. It's not a super action shot or anything. But at this point here, I'm going to make another point, and then I'm going to ramp it back up. So I made a point to make it stop at 100 there, but I'm going to make another point, put here, and then I'm going to turn that back up to 300. You play from that point, and it's all shaky and not very cool, but you get the idea. And that's basically it. You can do the same idea with the velocity. You can go right back to this at the start without changing your properties here. I'll show you that again. So I'm just going to delete this. I'm going to add that clip back in, and I'll show you how to do it just with velocity. So you right click, envelope velocity, and I haven't changed the frame rate here. I'm just going to keep it at 1.0, not the 0.4 like I showed. And I'm just going to make a quick cut here. This might be a little bit easier for you. Have this velocity at 100%. Again, it's 100% all the way through, but because we haven't slowed it down, we can go the other way. So we can go opposite. So to start, we can start it out at 100%, but then I'm going to make another point, and I'm actually going to bring this down to 40%. Or 45, let's go 45. But you can type in as well. Vegas doesn't like, it gives you like chunks of percentages. I think it's 3% changes. But you can right click on the point, and right now it's at 45%, but I wanted it at 40. So I'm going to set to, it's actually at 44, so I'm going to put 40. And what I did there is just right clicked on the point, and I went to set to, click 40. So now it is actually, it's slowing the footage down, just like on the previous way I did it, where I went properties and went 40 in there. And so instead of doing that, I just did it in the velocity. I hope that makes sense. So if you play that, it'll be fast, and it'll kind of go back down to the slow motion. And our dog's running. And again, you can add a point there. Pull this over a bit more because there's more clip left. Make another point there. And then you can ramp that back up to 300. Or you can go wherever you want. You can make it not quite as fast, or... And she's running quick. One thing of note with this way is, I'll show you how to do it, how it works, but see, I set this at 40, the original slow motion, 40%. Well, there's a reason I do that. That is the absolute lowest I can go to get true slow motion with this 60 frames a second clip. If I had a clip that was, say, 120 frames a second, I could go all the way down to 20% at true slow motion. But if I go any lower, like say I go 20% slower with this 60 frames a second clip, I'll show you how it gets choppy, and you don't really want that. But some people, you can still get away with it. If you're going for some kind of stylized look, but just keep that in mind. It gets away from your true slow motion and becomes kind of a more stylistic, choppy technique. I'll show you how this looks at the 20%. See how it's choppy? It's still not bad, but it's just keep that in mind. Well, that's all I can really think of for this ramping tutorial, speeding up and slowing down footage. I really hope this was helpful. I hope you subscribe. I'm trying to make more of these on a regular basis. Thanks for watching.